Folks, we got another UFC Fight Night. Whittaker versus De Ridder. Let's get into it. Pretty decent card. It's Saturday, July 26th, 2 p.m. Central Time, so a little bit earlier in the day, which is nice to occasionally get those early afternoon cards. It's in Yas Island in the UAE, so of course they're going to be putting on a pretty decent card over there. How many fights we got? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 fights. It's pretty good matchups. Some that I don't really give a fuck about, so of course we'll just breeze right through those as we typically do. A couple guys, though, that I'm pretty interested in. First up, Martin Buchecha versus Marcus Almeida Buchecha. I'm only interested in this one because of Marcus Buchecha. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background is pretty... the guy's got some credentials. We'll just put her at that. Whoops. Let's move this over and we'll pull him up here. Got a couple submission wins. Big dude, in good shape for a heavyweight as well. Not your typical slop fest that you get sometimes. Not looking at you, Martin Buchecha, or anything. Buchecha, though, he's coming in at 35 years old to the UFC, so he's getting a little bit of a late run in the UFC, but that, again, is only because he spent so much time in the jiu-jitsu world building his credentials, I guess you could say. I think he's going to have a physicality advantage over Martin Buchecha. Martin Buchecha, I think, actually has decent takedown defense up to this point, but it's not... I can't say that's because of how great his grappling is or anything like that. I think it's just because there's not a lot of guys going out there and shooting takedowns on him. And then the ones that aren't particularly good at it. Yeah, 100% takedown defense. I don't think that's going to remain after this fight. Of course, Martin could always catch Buchecha and knock him out or something like that. But given that the guy's never been knocked out and, of course, never been submitted, have a little bit of a hard time believing that's going to happen. Of course, you could always get the boring grind decision fest potentially, but again, I don't think that's going to happen. He impressed the shit out of me with the way he changed levels against, what was that last dude he fought? Let me pull it up here. He got a really, Amir Ali Akbari, who is if I remember right, he's got a Greco wrestling background. At one point, they were locked up in a whizzer, and Amir kind of threw his ass, which was pretty impressive, but point being, the initial shot on Amir was pretty slick, pretty sweet with it. So I think Almeida is going to go out there. He's going to do the little level changing feints and shit that he does. He was doing them pretty dramatic, pretty lazy. What do we got here? These are some from when I was breaking them down. Yeah, Marcus Almeida minus 300. Pretty big, over exaggerated shots. I think just to get Amir thinking about it. But then the one he actually shot on was smooth, it was fast, it was low. Let's see. Almeida by submission, minus 120. Let's do it. Almeida inside the distance, minus 140. I guess maybe he goes out there and gets a ground and pound TKO or something, but I kind of doubt it. I'm seeing a submission here. You could always use him as a prop piece as well, or excuse me, a parlay piece, minus 300. What are our rounds here? What's the under 2.5? Under 2.5 at minus 190. That's also probably a safe bet. You could probably mix that in with something. I don't know how long Buchecha is going to be able to stop the takedown. And then once Buchecha actually gets it, I see him making relatively short work of Buchecha on the ground. I see Kimura or RNC. Buchecha turns belly down to power back up. Almeida throws the hooks in, chokes his ass out. Moving on. Muhammad Yahya versus Stephen Gwynn. We're going Stephen Gwynn because I don't like Muhammad Yahya. I think he's a little overrated. Moving on. We have Ibo Aslan versus Billy Elikana. We broke down Ibo Aslan several times now. He's a bit of a berserker, kind of gets in there and just swings for the fucking fences. Bit of a slop fest. Going against a guy in Billy Elikana who fought Bogdan Guskov, who we'll talk about a little bit later in the card. Kind of had Guskov in a little bit of trouble. He wasn't really locking up the submission or anything, but he was going for it, and he was retaining back control for quite a while pretty well. Eventually, Guskov grabbed the foot and kind of peeled it open and then turned into him, and then pretty much from then on, it was Guskov beating the shit out of him. What I was not impressed with was the way he shelled up against the cage. Pretty much took a couple shots, took some to the body. He would answer some shots, and Bogdan basically just ate him and didn't care. And then he eventually shelled up against the cage and had his head out, and Bogdan grabbed that guillotine and locked it up. It looked like he was going to knee him in the head, and I actually think he did once, but it was while his hands were still up, so it was legal. I could see Ibo Aslan going out here and berserker in this one again and kind of just blitzing right through Billy Elikana. He's been subbed twice, so it does make you wonder if he doesn't get the initial berserker barrage and pulls it off. Does Elikana eventually work to his back the way he did to Bogdan? I would think Bogdan's probably a little bit better of a grappler than the Turkey sensation Ibo Aslan, but I could be wrong. He's never been knocked out. He just got the sub. Interesting. I lean towards Ibo, or Ibo, however you say it. Minus 280. That ain't great. You could maybe take him inside the distance. Method of victory inside the distance. Minus 185. Let's do it. Moving on. Next up, Amanda Ribas versus Tabitha Ricci. Don't really give a shit about this fight. Two girls who go to decisions more than basically anything else. Tabitha Ricci is kind of a point fighter. She tippy-taps you and then runs away. Amanda Ribas actually has some exciting jiu-jitsu and some exciting judo as well. She has some good judo throws and shit. Unfortunately, I think Tabitha Ricci probably peppers her and runs away the entire fight and then gets given a decision. What's the over? Probably 1,000? Yeah. Okay. So over 520, or excuse me, over 2.5 is minus 525. No real money to be made there. Yeah, we'll just leave that one alone and move right past it. Next fight that we have to break down, though, we have Davy Grant versus Damone Blackshear. Mr. Davy Grant, 16-7. He's 39 years old, so he's getting a little bit up there in age. This is probably getting towards the tail end of his career, unless he's just an absolute freak. 16-7 though, 4 knockouts, 9 submissions, 3 decisions. Been subbed 4 times. It's gonna be a factor here. And then he's lost 3 decisions. Coming off a split, or excuse me, I was gonna say a split decision loss, but he has one right after that. It is a decision win over Ramon Tavares, and then a split decision loss to Daniel Marcos. Pretty okay fighter. Like, he's somewhat technically sound. He kind of throws the big looping hooks occasionally and exposes himself a little bit, but I do think he's like fairly well-rounded. You're playing as him in EA UFC, and he's going to have like a 73 and everything, something like that. Orthodox, got a good, decent chopping low kick. Higher guard, so I worry about his body being exposed, and with those arms going up like that, somebody being able to get in on his hips and get a takedown and securing one. Yeah, I don't know. He's just not like the most physically gifted guy. He puts it together fairly technically well. I think he has decent pop. But in this fight, I think he's going against a young stud in Damone Blackshear, who's probably going to chew him up. We've got 17-7-1, 3 wins in a row. Alat Lang, how you say it, decision. And then 2 submission wins over 2 Codys back-to-back. Rear naked choke and a Kimura. Striking, he's okay. Leaves a little bit to be desired. Muscles a little bit of his shots. He's got a good snappy jab, but just leaves himself a little open and a little bit exposed when he's throwing, where Davy Grant might slip and catch him with the counter or something. Cardio, staying power, fades a little bit, but I just don't know that that's going to be a factor here. I think he's durable enough to take the shots that Davy Grant throws at him, unless Davy just lands some freakishly big shot. And I think his submission and grappling game is good enough that he's more than likely going to get the finish. I feel like he's maybe an RNC. I doubt we're going to see a twister from him again, even though that shit was about as sick as it gets. Let's see what kind of odds we have here. He's minus 320, plus 200 by sub. I'll take it. You could also take decision, plus 160. If you wanted to hedge those, put a half a unit on each of them. You'll come out ahead either way. I'd honestly probably just play the submission. Fuck it. We'll see how Davy Grant's holding up. Getting up there. This is going to be a big test for Blackshear. If he doesn't go out there and have some kind of impressive performance against Davy Grant, I think it's going to say a lot about his ceiling and exactly where it's at. Moving on. Muslim Salikov versus Carlos Leal. I don't really give a shit about this one. I'm just going to watch it and have fun. You got the king of Kung Fu versus the dirty drug cheat. Not to say that most other people aren't either, but this guy's actually failed a couple times if I recall correctly, so screw it. Next, the main fight of the prelims, the premier fight of the evening, we have Thug Nasty Bryce Mitchell versus Saeed Nurmagomedov. This guy blew my sweet-ass parlay when I was on the Anik and Florian podcast by completely shitting the bed. He was looking good early, and then Lockdog, went out there and proceeded to beat the brakes off him. Bryce Mitchell, though, Thug Nasty, first time at this weight class. He's going down to bantamweight, coming off the submission loss to Gene Silva, if I'm not mistaken. It's like a nasty guillotine choke, or I guess it was a ninja choke. from what I recall, it was like a front choke is actually what it was. But either way, a ninja choke is effectively just a Darce choke without the arm in. It is the same as like a RNC grip. You know, you got this number applied to the front of their head. So like imagine a guy tried to shoot a takedown on me. He shoots in on my hips, and I kind of lock this bad boy up with his neck kind of in this little region right here. I go, Whack. Ninja choke. A lot of times you'll see it. Guys will be belly down. Or, back down, you know, they're on their back, basically on the ground, and a guy will be in side control. They'll turn into the guy, be like posting with their arms. You'll see a Darce choke come from that quite a bit. They'll slide it right underneath that arm. Or conversely, if they're somewhat aware of what they're doing, they pull the arm out, or say the guy can't snake underneath it, you can just go straight underneath the neck and get that same Darce kind of like RNC style grip around their neck and just squeeze the piss out of it. Now, a little bit more of a crank at times than it is necessarily a choke. It just depends, on your positioning and such. But very painful, very nasty. And Said Nurmagomedov actually has a decent one as well. So you would hope that Bryce Mitchell would be preparing for that. Like, I'm a amateur here, and I know to watch that from Said. He tried to get that against it wasn't Loke Dog. It was the guy before that. Was it? No, Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Martinez, who I was thinking of. I tried to shoot that on Martinez a couple times. When he would get backed up against the cage, Martinez would kind of push in against him, and he tried to lock that up and was unsuccessful against Martinez. But given that Bryce has been caught with it before, you got to at least wonder if he's going to do it. I think the big question mark here, though, is will Thug Nasty look good at bantamweight? I do think was a little undersized at 45. I think he was getting muscled by guys. You could just see some of these dudes were just freaks coming in, muscle bound to the fucking ears, and then you got Bryce Mitchell, who's a good. I mean, the kid's in good shape. He's obviously an athlete, but he ain't fucking as muscle bound as some of these other guys. So I think here he'll actually get a little bit of a size advantage finally, be able to match some of these guys in horsepower, and then we'll see where the technique actually lies. Does the chin get compromised because of the weight cut? I don't know. Dude actually has a pretty decent chin up to this point, so I'd like to see that retain, him gain a power size advantage, and then just start mollywhopping some of these people. But I just don't know that that's going to happen. He's going against a guy here, Said Nurmagomedov, one of the only freaking Dagestanis who ain't out here wrestle humping people to death. Got kind of a karate style. He's coming off that. I think that decision loss to Lockdog was the last one. Yeah, back in February. Coming off that decision loss, orthodox stance, switches pretty well. He's got kind of a somewhat upright stance, so I'd like to see some guys maybe get some takedowns because of that, shoot in on the single. Good kicking game, though. He's got like the crescent kick, question mark, good round kick, good low chopping, like chopping low kick there. Ripped a spin kick to the body. Basically has all of it. I mean, if there's some form of kick out there, this guy's probably got a pretty decent version of it. Seems pretty explosive, fairly strong. I actually think he suffers a little bit. I don't know. I wonder what this dude is. He undersized for the division? Is he cutting too much weight? What's going on? Because he's like shredded to the fucking gills. Is he just kind of a naturally leaner guy and he's just normally kind of walking around like that? Or is he cutting such an insane amount of weight that he's getting mega lean and losing some of his strength and shit like that? Would we get better performances out of him if we give himself an extra 10 pounds? I wonder that. We might have kind of opposite cases here. Said needs to go up, whereas Bryce needs to go down. I don't know. So long as Bryce can watch out for the front choke, I don't know that Said's going to put him away. I'd leave this one alone. I'd leave it alone. Just watch it. Just watch the damn thing and have fun. Well, a large part of this also, I think, will be determined by the weigh-ins. We'll wait and see how these guys look tomorrow on the scales, but that could be a factor here. Moving on to the main card, we have the first fight of the evening, Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov. We were just talking about Bogdan not too long ago. Nikita Krylov, the minor, I think that's what it is. KO lost to Dom Reyes back in April. Super quick turnaround. I don't generally think that's going to be very good for your chin, especially against a guy who's got power like Bogdan, but what do I know? 30-10, 12 knockouts, 16 subs, 2 decisions, been KO'd twice, subbed 6 times, and he's lost 2 decisions. Like I mentioned, coming off that KO loss to Dom Reyes, he's doing a lot of charging forward, leading with his face. Dom cracked him, I think, twice with like kind of the same punch. If I remember right, it was a straight while he was moving back, a straight counter, and clipped him and hurt him early. Caught him again with it, that exact same shot, more or less, and then just completely folded him. It was fucking nasty. Dom Reyes returned to form, I guess you could say. Bit of a wild man, telegraphs a bit. There's a little bit of a wind up going on when he throws his shots, which they have power, but you also see him coming. Like I said, he likes to throw the straights while lunging in, very often leading with his face, which he paid for against Raya. So you'd like to see that correction at this point in your game. I don't know how much of it you're going to change, and he has a pretty good habit of doing that. Rear kicks to the body and the head, pumps those a lot, the straights a lot. It almost reminds me of like a shittier version of Robert Whittaker. Yeah, that pretty well sums it up for him. Bogdan Guskov here, 32 years old, 17-3. Evil Anthony Smith, as you can tell. Pull up their stats. 14 knockout wins, 3 submissions, no decisions. This guy's finishing you, or he's getting finished in turn. 1 KO loss, 1 submission loss, 1 decision. Coming off 3 wins in a row, all finishes, 1 sub, 2 KOs. Really seemed to struggle getting Elkan off his back. So I worry if Krylov is at all going to have any kind of fight IQ, you would think he would try to be working some ground game, get some submissions going, something like that. He's got a fair bit of submissions in his own right, so you'd like to think the guy's got some okay grappling. Size-wise, I think Krylov's probably going to have a bit of a size advantage, power advantage. I'd give it probably to Bogdan. He's an orthodox fighter. He's got kind of a wide open guard. He leaves himself open for shots quite a bit and eats a lot of shots. I think he relies on the chin just a hair too much, which is concerning. But he does have really quick hands. He does have good reflexes. I mean, there's a reason he's relying on them. I just think at a certain point in time, those start to fade, and so does your chin, and then all of a sudden, you're getting slept by everybody, and there goes your career. Likes to flinch a lot, bait the reactions and stuff. I don't know that that's really going to work too terribly much against Krylov. He just seems like he's pulling the trigger more than you're pulling the trigger if he can help it. I'm going Bogdan here. Kind of a weird clash of styles, but I think Bogdan has the power. I think he probably has the better chin as well. Grappling makes me worried a little bit, but we're going to go Bogdan on that. We'll do money line, I reckon. What's the odds here? Bogdan, 168. Wow, the underdog. All right, we'll take it. Bryce is the favorite. That kind of surprises me. Next, Asu Almabaya versus Jose Ochoa. I lean towards Ochoa, even though he's had a bit of a experience disadvantage here. My bias is going to play a little bit in this one just because of the whole Kazakhstan connection there. So I guess I'll just move past this one. We're just going to watch this one and enjoy it, soak it in. Next, Shara, the last pirate, Shara Bullet Magomedov versus Marc-Andre Barrio, the power bar. What a fucking weird matchup. Why are we doing this? This one makes absolutely no sense to me. Shara Bullet was on an absolute tear, 15-1, got derailed a bit by our boy MVP. We love him. Good striker, though. Upright stance, kind of the springy, like bouncing around. Reminds me of like a coiled spring just ready to explode. Basically, anytime, pulling the trigger. 12 knockouts, 3 decisions, 1 decision loss. 31 years old, so he's a young buck still. I guess not a young buck. He's kind of in his prime here. This is the do or die years. Chopping low kick, again, also a little bit of an open guard, not dissimilar to Bogdan, just kind of uses it in a different manner. Likes to lean and pull the counters, whereas Bogdan just kind of eats the fucking shots and then throws back at you. I think Sharaputin's baiting a lot, like he wants to pull counter you. Chin's pretty good, though. Got rocked against Petrosian early and still managed to recover. Makes you wonder. This dude, I think, is actually cutting a fair bit of weight as well, but yeah, decent fighter for sure. The grappling leaves a little to be desired. I think once he starts going against some real high-level grapplers, it's going to be a problem. But for the time being, I think he's just fine. And you'd like to see that MVP fight. Give him a little bit of the rub, improve him a little bit. But Marc-Andre Barrio is 35 years old, 17-9. Orthodox, bit of a long stance. Very susceptible to the low calf kick, which I think old Shara's probably going to be chewing him up pretty good with. Stoltzfus also fucked him up pretty good there. Dropped him and then jumped on him. Fairly strong. Not the most athletically gifted guy. Like, he's not super lightning quick or anything like that. I think Power Bar is a pretty fitting nickname. Likes to clinch, hand on the collar, hits the uppercuts. I just don't know that his chin can kind of hold up in those firefights anymore and against a guy who's fast and can crack like Shara. I don't see it happening. As I've said before, Marc-Andre Barrio reminds me a little bit of Dan Henderson with the way he fights, kind of the stiffness aspect of his game. But Shara, did I have him? Let's do Shara round 1 plus 220. And you could take him round 2 if you wanted to at plus 350. Hedge it out. I just don't think Barrio, I don't think his chin can sustain the firefights anymore. And I don't think he's a sophisticated enough striker or MMA fighter in general to hang in there with Shara for very long. So we'll see. This is another one of those fights, kind of like for Damone Blackshear against Davey Grant. You're having an opportunity to make a statement in the division here, and if you go out and shit the bed, it's really going to say a lot about where your ceiling's at. I don't think that's going to happen here. I think there's actually a higher chance of it happening in the Davey Grant fight. But I've been wrong before, so we'll fucking see, I guess. Next, and the co-main event of the evening, one I'm super looking forward to. This is a big question mark for me. We've got Petr Yan, No Mercy, versus Marcus Maniac McGhee. Big fan of both these guys. I really like Petr Yan. Been a fan of him for years until the Merab debacle, and then I had to pick sides, and I went with my boy Merab. But No Mercy, he's 32 years old, 5'7", which might be generous. 18-5, 7 knockouts, 1 sub, 10 decisions, and he's lost 4 decisions. And one other, it was a disqualification for kneeing a guy in the head while he was down. His name was Aljamain Sterling, and that's how he lost the belt. Whoops. Coming off 2 wins in a row, 2 decisions, a bit of a decision machine. He's not going out there and finishing a lot of guys. Very technically sound. He just doesn't have a ton of power, like a ton of pop. Upright Muay Thai style kind of stance. I think he trained at that Tiger Muay Thai in Thailand for a little while, if I'm not mistaken. Solid chin, like I mentioned, he's never been finished. Patient, got good fight IQ. He's measured. Keeps that right hand cocked there next to like his kind of like brow, eye, cheek region. And then like the lead hand, he kind of measures, pumps the jab, gets his distance, and then cracks. Switches stances fairly well. Who was it? Song Yadong, I think, that was able to wrestle with him and control him a little bit, and then I think he ended up gassing himself out as a consequence. Oh, we're on Petr Yan here. Oh, yeah, Song Yadong, that's exactly who it was. Got the takedown on him. If I remember, he had like a body lock or something like that, and Petr Yan, if I remember, hit a Granby roll out of it, and Song Yadong managed to retain grip of it, around the body, but then by the time they got back around into all fours, kind of dogfight position, something like that, he just said, fuck this, and stood back up. So I think he's one of these dudes that you're going to pay for the takedowns. Even if you do get him, he's going to make you work for him. And keeping him there, you're going to work for it, which is very taxing. It takes a real special breed to be able to do that, a sustained output and manhandling people for fucking 5 rounds. Basically takes Merab. I don't know a whole lot of other people who can do something like that. My one thing I noticed there also, though, in the Song Yadong fight, he was faking the takedown, Song was, and Petr Yan was biting on him pretty hard. There was a couple times he got thrown off balance by sprawling on something that didn't actually get thrown or, didn't get shot at him. I worry about that a little bit here. Marcus McGhee might be able to get him to bite on those and then counter off of it. But going against the guy, let's pull up Marcus McGhee. 35 years old, so a bit of an age advantage for Petr Yan. It's not huge. It's 3 years. It's kind of a point where 3 years matters a little bit, but I don't know. It's I don't know. We'll see. 10-1, 8 knockouts, 1 submission, 1 decision. He's been subbed 1 time. 5'8", so I guess he'll probably have 1 inch in height advantage if these stats are at all correct, but I think it's going to be pretty comparable. 6-fight win streak. He's got a decision win over Jonathan Martinez back in November. TKO win over Gaston Bolanos over that. Very fast twitch, very snappy jab, nasty low kick, very good with the feints. Got a good lead hand to the body. He was throwing multiple times. McGee's built like an absolute brick shithouse. Clearly going to have a power advantage in this one. The physicality meter is 10 on him, and it's like a 7 on Petr Yan, and for the average person, it's on about like a 3. So you got 2 elite athletes. I just think McGhee is on a whole other level. The guy is a fucking monster. High guard, leaves his body open, so you wonder if Petr Yan's going to go to the body a little bit with maybe some of the kicks. Low volume, not a lot of wasted energy or movement, but what he does throw really, really counts. Exposes himself when he throws a bit much, so again, I wonder the technical advantages that Petr Yan has. He may be able to capitalize on something like that. McGhee is such an animal. I don't know that I don't know. Is his physicality going to make up in the technique deficits? I kind of think so. This is a really tough fight for me to pick. It's one that you would not be remiss, if you just sat out and enjoyed it on it. For the money at minus 410, plus 305, I will absolutely be taking Marcus McGhee. Put a third of a unit on him. You get a full unit in return. That's nuts. You could always hedge it out and take Petr Yan by decision. He doesn't really win any other way. Method of victory, Petr Yan decision. There you go. Minus 150. Put a full unit on Petr Yan. Put a quarter of a unit or fourth of a unit or something. Put a fourth of a unit, or 4/10 of a unit, excuse me, not a fourth. 4/10 of a unit on Marcus McGhee, and then you'll get over a unit in return. And you should be good the other way as well. Hedge it out. Fun fight, though. Very fun fight. It wouldn't be unwise to just sit that one out and chill it, or maybe just take even the over and roll it in with a parlay or something. It says a lot about where these guys are going to be at for the rest of the division as well. I think if Marcus McGhee wins this, it would not surprise me at all if we see him either get the next title shot or be one removed from a title shot. Petr Yan, I think, is actually working his way back into the picture as well. So we'll see. We'll see. Fun scrap. And now we got the main event of the evening, the final fight of the night, the middleweight bout of the evening. Or not the, but one of the middleweight bouts of the evening. We have Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whittaker versus RDR, Reinier De Ridder. 27-8, Bobby Knuckles, 34 years old, former champ. Pull him up here. Former welterweight, and then moved up to middleweight and became champ. It's kind of wild. 26-8, 10 knockouts, 5 submissions, 11 decisions. Been KO'd 3 times, subbed twice, and was lost 3 decisions. Great fighter. One of my favorites. Coming off a pretty devastating loss against Khamzat. First round submission. It was like a fucking face crank from hell. Basically crushed Robert Whittaker's teeth in. From what I understand, he's had some teeth issues for a while. Old Khamzat got his arm across there, basically like an RNC style. Got the arm across the face and just went for it and crushed all of it in. So Bobby Knuckles has been out for a while getting his teeth fixed. Fast fighter, very quick. In and out movement. He's got kind of like the karate stance, like I mentioned. He's pretty springy, light on his feet, orthodox. Has a few tools that he goes to pretty often, but he works them in well enough that I don't think a lot of guys, they know he's going to throw them, but doing something about it is another thing entirely. Likes to blitz forward, leads a little bit with the face, but usually he's pumping shots forward, so it's hard to get in there and counter him off of that. He's got the high kick at the end of it very often, likes to do that. He's got the knee stomps. Good shots to the body as well that he implements sometimes. Good wrestler, good low kick. Hands get a little low, though. At times he gets tagged by the fast, snappy jabs. I think he's a hair undersized at times as well in the middleweight division. Like I mentioned, he was able to fight at welterweight. Not a lot of these middleweights these days could have ever made welterweight, so that should tell you something right there. But he knows how to dig, knows how to win. Championship material, clearly. Champion caliber. Been there before, and is trying to do it again. Number 5 middleweight? Yeah. Going against this guy, though, Reinier De Ridder, a former 2-weight champion of ONE FC, I do believe. 34 as well, so similar ages here, or the same age. 20-2, 5 KOs, 13 submissions, 2 decisions. He's not been KO'd twice. It's the only way he's lost. Knockout. We'll start by saying he's fucking huge. Guy's absolutely massive, the old Dutch Knight. I think he's going to have a pretty clear size advantage here. I think he's also one of these guys who's surprisingly strong. Once he grabs a hold of you, you're like, oh shit, this dude's real strong. The comparisons have been made with Dricus before, and I don't think they're dissimilar, particularly in the offensive grappling. The striking is a little different. I don't think he's half as slick as Dricus is in the striking, but the berserker onslaught of offensive grappling, I could definitely see the connection and the horsepower and muscling dudes around and shit. Went in immediately, shot the single against Holland and was able to get him taken down and pretty well control him on the ground. I don't know that it's going to be quite so easy against Robert Whittaker, who has really good wrestling. But I do think that's probably going to be the game plan. Dude's got good clinch work, though, as well. Was able to finish Bo Nickel, if I remember right, was a knee to the body. This was a really tough fight for me. I think it's either Robert Whittaker doing basically what he likes to do, which is darting in and out, blitzing you, landing the big shots, and maybe he clips Reinier and put him away. Depends on how well his chin holds up. Conversely, I could see him doing that blitzing in and out, gets in real close, and Reinier uses it as an opportunity to mix up the grappling. tangles up with him, sticks the leg in, gets the trip. Body lock, drags him to the ground. Something goofy. Maybe even just because this is a gold classic double leg or single. But either way, does he get Robert Whittaker to the ground, manhandle him, not dissimilar to Chimaev, get the hooks in and submit him? I don't know, man. Reinier, I don't think he's the physical freak that Khamzat is, but I do think he's just as big and probably pretty close to as strong. I just don't think he's as fast. I'm torn on this one. My buddy was going with the over here, and I was pretty sold on the under, and then after seeing what everybody else is taking on it in the Vegas odds, maybe the over 2.5 is the play. I lean towards Reinier a little bit, I think, here, man. I think I do. I hate to say it, but let's take a look what these odds are. Reinier De Ridder, slight underdog, plus 133. You could take him sub, plus 300. You could take him... We don't have inside the distance yet. It doesn't look like it'd be in there if we did. I'd probably take him inside the distance. I could see him getting the finish. Again, you could take the over. You could maybe play the under 4.5. Take the over 2.5. Somewhere the sweet spot in there. I'm seeing a lot of people saying round 3 will be the finish. I'm not the greatest at that, so maybe just fucking disregard what I'm saying. But we're going Reinier De Ridder. We're calling it a wrap. That's it. Oh. That is it. That's the card. UFC Fight Night. Whittaker versus De Ridder. In the bag. In the books. This Saturday. 2 p.m. Central Time. Good luck, everybody. I hope you make some fucking money. Throw me a like, comment, follow, subscribe. All the other goofy shit that you're supposed to do. That'll help me out. We'll see you next time. Peace out.